Welcome back, everyone, once again to a new installment of Screenplay Rewind. I'm Geoff,
I'm Ron.
and we are rounding out our special coverage of Lord of the Rings this week. But we weren't the only people celebrating its 20th anniversary, were we, Ron?
Oh, no, we were not. Oh, it's so good.
Their stuff was good. Ours was garbage.
Oh, no,
Just
this is
to
all
make that
garbage,
clear.
but
This
Stephen
is all
Colbert.
garbage. I can't. This is our 40th episode. You think we would have gotten better by then, but no. Still trash.
41st,
But you go
I
continue.
think.
Continue.
Stephen Colbert going to be on break for the official 20th anniversary of Fellowship of the Ring, which he says as much, coincidentally, is also the 20th anniversary of him not being able to shut up about Lord of the Rings. And oh my God, he did a rap song, Jeff. And what perfect timing as we are ending our Lord of the Ring coverage for him to come out with this just a few days before we sit down to record so we can actually talk about it.
Yeah, I love how he points out how they're having like the fucking Harry Potter special with all the cast back, but like no one else was doing anything with Lord of the Rings. Like fuck
Dumbledore.
fuck.
Dumbledore couldn't fight a Balrog. He was killed by a high school chemistry teacher.
Yeah, everyone should YouTube this first and foremost, because it actually has like legit surprises on who appears in this fucking video that I was not expecting. It would have been perfectly golden if it was just Colbert and John Baptiste. But just the people that are in that fucking video,
The people that show up for it.
The people that show up for a fucking meme of like a 3-minute Lord of the Rings rap video is mind blowing. So yeah, go look up the video. And for those of you that don't care, who all is in this fucking video, Ron?
We get all 4 hobbits.
And they're all rapping. They're all contributing to the rap.
Everyone is rapping.
Yeah.
We got all 4 hobbits. We got 2 actual legit rappers I don't know. Colbert and John Baptiste. And then Hugo Weaving raps in Elvish. And
Which by the way, just give him the Oscar for that.
Right?
You know, just do it.
Andy Serkis is playing flute
fantastic
while he's doing it.
Yeah.
And he's like, that flute, I'm surprised didn't burst into flames. Like, he's going to town on this flute. And Hugo Weaving is rapping in Elvish. And then they keep knocking Anna Kendrick's career. And it keeps cutting to Anna Kendrick. Like, they talk about how, like, Pitch Perfect's nothing compared to the Lord of the Rings. And it cuts to her, and she's like, the hell? And then it cuts back to the rap, and everything grinds to a halt again for them to say, I know it was 5 movies, but Twilight sucks, Anna Kendrick. And then it cuts back to her, and she's like, I was barely in those movies.
The only thing I can think of as to why she would be in those is like in between interview segments with her on his show, because I'm assuming she's been in his show multiple times by now.
Not in a while, not that I can remember.
Is just that like somehow they got onto the topic of them both being giant Lord of the Rings fans, because why else would she be on this?
When it cuts back and forth between all the people during the rap, and she's rapping and like dancing, like laying on the kitchen counter, she's got those 4 she's got like 3 or 4 like expensive looking Lord of the Rings statues all around her.
Yeah, those like $250 like bust statues she has.
If they're anything like the Dark Souls ones, some of those are like $600.
Yeah.
The one where he finally got Oscar's name like legitimized in the lore is like a $500 statue or something.
Just want to point out, within 4 minutes, we already segued to Dark Souls. So good job. Everyone take a drink and back to the episode.
Oh my God. The costumes are unassailable. I'm only on this song because Ian McKellen is unavailable.
I just want to give you kudos when you managed to segue to Dark Souls when we were talking about a Lord of the Rings rap video featuring Anna Kendrick. Like, what?
Sword and sorcery fiction, fantasy fiction. Come on.
Pitch Perfect, Anna Kendrick, Dark Souls. There you go.
It fits. Who knows? She probably plays Dark Souls too.
She probably does. 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. It's fine.
Oh my God, it's so good.
But yeah, everyone watching, it's fucking great. And just the fact that they got as many cast members as they did to be on it is fucking awesome. And also,
Dude,
there should be a fucking commemorative special about Lord of the Rings and not about Harry Potter. I'm sorry.
I know.
It's fucking stupid, dude.
Dude, the audience reaction when Sam has that lyric, I don't remember the exact lyric, but it's, Frodo Baggins show up, and then it cuts to Elijah Wood. It's like, I don't know, Willie, and the audience goes insane.
I like how Sean Astin has the
dollar signs.
Potato. He has the potato
yes.
shade. That's great.
And I love when it pops up on screen as Frodo motherfucking Baggins, and the front license plate was Baggins.
It's pretty great.
Oh god.
Yeah, everyone go look it up. But is it just
Indiana
like
Jones and the Temple of Boring?
it's probably introduced like Colbert, Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I'm gonna send you a link. I think to put in the description because it's that good.
I will most definitely forget to do that. So if you want to look it up, just YouTube Colbert Lord of the Rings. You'll probably find it. Wasn't this within the last like week and a half or so when it first uploaded?
It's within the last week. It's only probably been 3 or 4 days.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it's on the official Late Show YouTube.
Gotcha. Yeah, everyone go look it up. It's great. Much better use of your time than this podcast, to be fair.
But the Oliphants, Jeff.
The Oliphants. Share the load.
Oh, no. Here comes the third tower. Get into it.
I like how we when we were uploading our MP3s to the G drive, we both had the same idea just instantly to do. Because I was typing up and changing the name to the Three Towers when I saw you beat me to it. I was like, you son of a bitch. Oh, God. But we can't start off the show run without digging into the old email bag. And who wrote in? None other than our number one fan, Bobby. Love you, Bobby. I love you no longer because of the subject line of this email, though. When he starts out with, why Lord of the Rings sucks.
Suck my ring.
With like 12 S's. And then he says, just joking, just wanted Geoff to read the subject line. And it's and the best part is he has a Gollum, Legolas, and Gandalf Night at the Roxbury gif where they're bobbing their heads in the back of the fucking car. And it's the greatest gif I've ever seen. And kudos. So you just when I thought you couldn't get any dumber, you go and do this and totally redeem yourself. And then he has an actual question though. So let's see. Mr. Bobby says, I like how the subject line just question.
Yeah, I see.
Did not bury the lead. I respect that about you. Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, or Pirates of the Caribbean? Which universe would you like to be a background character living a normal life in? This is an easy answer for me, but I will let you go first.
Very easy answer. Star Wars all the way.
And my reasoning is because they ostensibly have working air conditioning and toilets.
Yeah, they have technology.
They have technology.
They have moved beyond chamber pot technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very easily.
Like Lord of the Rings looks awesome until you think about just how much everyone fucking smells.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't want to know what Minas Tirith smells like. There's too many people.
Yeah. That is one thing. You got to give Game of Thrones credit because you just see in King's Landing people just throwing shit in the street because that's what happened. Right. That's what happened medieval times. You know, they didn't have fucking plumbing, dude.
So and God help you if you're under that window.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. My luck, I would be a resident of Osgiliath probably.
Yes. What is the first city to have everyone just... I'd be on one of the outskirts of Rohan that just gets like immediately wiped out by the fucking like
the one from the beginning of Two Towers.
Yeah.
But you just see the raiders coming and the moms putting their children on the horse.
You know when and spoilers for Return to the King, by the way, incoming for this episode.
One guy, I know, God damn it, always spoiling movies.
Every character at Minas Tirith that gets grabbed by the Nazguls and then fucking yeeted into orbit.
And they fall for like 15 seconds before they hit the ground. You know that felt like they're falling for years, right?
Yeah, all those guys are me.
If you trip over an extension cord and fall, it feels like it takes you an hour to hit the ground. Can you imagine falling for like 15 seconds in the air?
Why did my brain immediately go back to the Family Guy joke of Stephen King flying through the air and writing the novel before he gets... Yeah. Before he hits the ground.
Because that guy can bang him out, dude.
Dude, he totally is such a good joke. Such a good
good.
joke. But Bobby, if you have a counter response to your own question, subject line question, go ahead and let us know, because I think it's a slam dunk.
If you have this page open, if you have this email open, you should refresh it so you can see what I did.
Although, if I was to live in Lord of the Rings, Rivendell is pretty fucking cool.
But odds are you're not going to be an elf.
True. But if you could just pick whatever,
because I'm assuming this
like
is
they
us,
might,
like as humans, like just you and me as we are.
Well, he says it's a background character, so you could be like a character in the thing. I think, judging by the email. So if I could be an elf living in Rivendell, it wouldn't be bad, but I'd still take Star Wars.
Yes, but wouldn't it be more fun to be a dwarf?
Actually, I'll can I pick Spaceballs? I'll live in Spaceballs and just not have this.
Watch out!
And just not have the special.
Water! Someone get this man some Pepto Bismol.
Pepto Bismol.
Hello, my man.
Hello, my ragtime gal.
Check, please.
This is we've been in this episode for 10 minutes and have referenced literally everything.
Should we stop, Geoff?
I think we probably should.
You didn't take it. You didn't take the bait. I set you up for it.
I'm kind of tired, so just be ready.
We can't stop.
Oh god. Oh, the sad thing is this show is more on the rails than the last episode started out for the first like 20 minutes. That's fucking saying something. We can't stop. It's too dangerous. You want to talk about Return of the King? You want to talk about the?
Real quick, since you didn't react, so people don't wonder. Gmail has pre-made responses that you can just click on. And when I was telling Geoff he should refresh, I had used one of them.
Oh, is that where that came from? I was like,
yeah.
Why the fuck did you reply back? That makes so much more sense.
I'm down for either.
Can I also reply? I also want to reply. Hold on. There you go.
I don't know why this is so amusing.
Now refresh yours. There you go. That's the correct answer.
I'm not.
Moving on.
We can't.
Oh man, this is our last episode for 2021, isn't it?
It really is.
That's actually wild, dude. We started this in October 2020 and have been going for 41 episodes. You said too long?
Yep.
Is that what this is?
This is episode 41, 42 if you count 40? The episode 0.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh wow.
What is happening?
Yeah.
We're both too tired, I think.
Yeah, I think we're I have an energy drink that is doing just absolutely nothing for me right now. Just absolutely nothing.
It's also worth mentioning Merry Christmas, everybody, because this is dropping Christmas Day, is it not?
Yeah. Maybe?
Yeah. This is dropping Christmas Day.
I don't know. Wait, how do calendars work?
You click on it and it opens.
Sense. That checks out. Checks out. You want to talk about Return of the King, Ron?
Sure, Merry Christmas.
But yeah, I second that. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all of the people. Just all the people.
Let's see.
Enjoy, be safe.
What else can I bring up
idiot.
before we talk about this movie? Let's see.
I mean, speaking of segues, I have nothing.
This fucking movie, Geoff.
This fucking movie. Wait, we're here talking about a movie?
No.
Can we talk about Dark Souls for like 20 more minutes? Or Spaceballs is cool too.
Well, let's think about what other video games Anna Kendrick might play. So there's Dark Souls and Bloodborne, obviously.
Obviously. I feel like Anna Kendrick would be a major Sims fan.
I was going to say, she's probably like a Pikmin person, more likely.
Yeah, I can see that. But Dark Souls.
That's
all you need. That's all you need, dude.
So Oscar's name is canon now.
There you go.
Back to the statue.
There you go. We have lost all of the quote-unquote audience, but it's fine.
No, I'm sure that one guy is loving it.
I'm just
going to call him Podcast Pete.
Podcast Pete is pretty good.
Podcast Pete.
Oh my god. So let's talk about Return of the King. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, first of all, I love the decision to open up with the fucking Smeagol origin.
Yeah, interesting choice to save that for the beginning of the final movie, because that's the beginning of Fellowship in the book, right? Smeagol and Deagle.
I believe so. And it's interesting too, because you can kind of tell that was their plan from the get-go, because they set up the scene by him calling himself a murderer, you know?
Yeah.
So they were directly leading up to it. It's just murderer. Yeah, it was very interesting that they just decided to open like a just complete cold open, you know, prologue fucking flashback. It's pretty cool, because you wouldn't expect that for the third movie, you know?
The thing that caught me off guard watching, I'm trying to remember now if it's in this one or Two Towers, is when they say Gollum was a hobbit-like creature before the ring. Does that mean he's like an ancestor of the hobbits?
I don't think so. Different? I think they say he was not unlike a hobbit once, and I want to say they are very similar to hobbits, but they're bigger. They're like in between hobbit and man size. That's why Smeagol is a little bit taller than.
It's hard to tell with him always on all fours.
Yeah, but I believe they're kind of like half man, half hobbit size, if I recall. The podcast Pete, who actually knows all of the lore, Colbert style, is judging me. But
oh my God help us if Colbert ever finds these episodes for any reason.
God help us if podcast Pete ever finds us too.
Podcast Pete will be the one that turned us into him. The thing that was driving me nuts watching it this time, though, and I finally figured it out, because there's a moment where Deagle turns around and looks at Smeagol over his shoulder when he has the ring in his palm. Is I was like, when he's underwater especially, I was like, okay, I know the actor that is playing Deagle is basically in nothing else. So why is he reminding me of someone at this particular moment? And it took me a while to remember. He's vaguely Andrew Garfield-esque.
I could see that a little bit.
Like, there's a part where Smeagol comes up and he looks over his shoulder at Smeagol that he looks identical to Andrew Garfield.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I hadn't considered it, but I can definitely.
It was just driving me nuts the entire time I was watching it, because I was just like, who are you reminding me of? Because I know you're not known for anything else. So this is literally the only thing I've ever seen you in. Why would you be reminding me of someone when I've seen this so many times?
I have seen all of the movies, and I have not seen you in anything else.
Yeah.
So this is your career.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't put that together, but I can totally see it now.
Dude, how terrifying would it be to be fishing and then the fish pulls you under?
I'd let go of the rod. That's just me.
He does eventually. Yeah, I've never known you to let go of your rod, man.
I mean, you know, when you've had a few too many, and you just sometimes you just gotta let it go, dude. Just gotta let it go.
Let it go.
Just gotta let it go. The really, really interesting thing that I think of when it comes to the fucking pacing. This movie is longer, and in some instances feels like shorter than Fellowship of Two Towers to me. Which is weird, because it's like the first like hour and a half is like nothing but setup.
Yeah. But
it always feels like it's
so good.
The payoff is so good, and once shit hits the fan, it doesn't stop. So this movie, weirdly enough, feels like the shortest one of the three to me. Does that feel like that to you?
Yeah, it really does. Especially once it finally gets going. Because here's the thing with all three of these movies, we've said this in every episode so far, even the downtime, when it's just setup and background and history and lore, is interesting. So you're never not like plugged into the movie. It's always got my full attention every time I watch it. So,
and good God, they do in every movie, but man, they really know when and where to cut to certain sequences in this.
And it's worth mentioning, by the way, the editing in all three movies, impeccable.
Yeah, we talked about it all throughout. As far as them really knowing when to pull away from certain sequences without irritating the audience, because that could totally happen. Because it's just like here, because a lot of like TV shows are bad about doing that. They'll like ratchet up to a certain thing and then switch perspectives or something, just to kind of fuck with the audience.
Yeah.
But they do a fantastic job of this.
To be able to get the pacing, especially like Two Towers, statistically should be the boring one, right? It's the one in the middle. You have the intro, which is Fellowship. You get the finale, which is Return of the King. The Two Towers should be the one that's just kind of But all three of these movies are so fucking good and so fucking well put together.
Yeah. I mentioned it before, but I'm 1000% on Colbert's side. This is the best trilogy.
It really is.
Like, just watching, every time I watch it, I'm just more impressed by how fucking great it is.
Pitch Perfect ain't nothing.
Yeah, fuck you, Anna Kendrick. I was barely in those movies.
What the hell? I thought we were friends. I was just eating the banana for no reason when it cuts back to her. Like she's just like in her own personal kitchen, like, okay, I gotta film these things for the show. What's around that I can use? I don't just want to be doing nothing. Okay, here's a banana. I'm just gonna grab this banana.
Right. Also, just a side note, because we talked a bit about Smeagol, but I really like the dynamic they introduce. That it just shows like how fucking instantly corruptible it can be. Because like they're best friends.
Yep.
Out fishing on the boat. It's like his fucking birthday. And within 2 minutes, they're literally killing each other.
I believe the book says he's lying. He was just saying anything he could think of to get Deagle to hand it over.
Oh, really? Okay, got it. Yeah, but
it doesn't mean that that's not canon for the movie. But
True.
I started Fellowship up again on audiobook recently because of us covering it. I wanted to listen to it again, and that's how I remember they cover Smeagol and Deagle at the beginning of the first book, is because you go through all that, and it's like I think it might be Gandalf is telling the story to Frodo as he knows it. And he says that Smeagol says that, but it's a lie. He's just saying anything he can think of to get Deagle to hand it over.
Yeah, super interesting. And it also just goes to show just like the fucking willpower that Frodo and Bilbo have is insane. To be able to, because he ends up saying, I think Frodo says it's like 13 months by the time they get back. To the day. So he's had the ring for, because it took him probably a few weeks to get back.
Something else that is in the Fellowship book also is Bilbo has an uncanny ability to kind of resist the ring. The only other person that's had that is Smeagol. That's why the ring hates Smeagol, because he wants to keep it for himself and he wants to hide with it, and the ring doesn't want that. The ring wants to be found. So when Bilbo happens across him, Gandalf says that the ring left Smeagol. That's when you have that awesome scene at the beginning of Fellowship with the ring bouncing down the mountainside or whatever, and you can just hear Smeagol screaming because he lost it. It saw its chance in Bilbo, but Bilbo also has that ability, and Bilbo also kept it. And then he leaves it. So there's the book. They don't talk about a lot of this in the movie, but there's this hand of destiny and fate that the book keeps bringing up. Like how it wasn't just chance that the ring found Bilbo, because Bilbo also had that ability. And then Gandalf says it's also not just chance that Bilbo left it to Frodo, because he's Bilbo's nephew. He also seems to have the same ability to resist the ring. And if you think about every other character in the movies so far, Smeagol and Deagle are instantly corrupted by it. Sean Bean, right?
Yeah,
instantly
basically instant. Like he doesn't immediately act on it, but you can tell he's immediately bothered by it.
It's in his head right from the beginning.
Yeah, instantly. As soon as he sees it, it's in his head.
Yeah, and there's that moment when you're not sure what Aragorn's going to do that you can kind of see in his face that he can like hear it talking to him, and then he like just out of sheer willpower closes Frodo's hand, and when he does, you can see like the look of relief on him. Galadriel does the same thing. Sam has a moment.
Sam has the ring for, what would you say, like a few hours probably?
Something.
And even in that time span, already is having difficulty giving it back, even though he knows he needs to, and it's it's fucking his bro.
You can tell by his face and the way he's talking that he's just like, here, it's yours. I wasn't going to keep it. You take it. And when Frodo starts to reach for it, he pulls it back like, why are you taking my ring? Like, so it's like he doesn't even realize it's starting to get its hooks into him.
Yeah. I also fucking they never bring attention to it, but I absolutely love the detail that if you look later on in the movie, how Frodo has the wounds around his neck.
Yes, I was
where
pointing that
it's
out
like
to
been
Chris.
weighing on him so bad. It's like manifested physical weight now.
Yeah.
Because it's wearing on him so bad. It's such a great detail.
Yeah, the chain is like the worst thing that could have happened to the ring. The ring fucking hates the chain because it can't escape from it. So yeah, he's wearing it around its neck, and it's literally been pulling on him like he's been wearing a heavy weight around his neck.
It's I like every time I see that detail, I'm just like, man, that is great attention to detail when it comes to the costuming.
But yeah, I wanted to talk about the Hand of Fate and Destiny thing and the certain people that can resist the ring, because that's one thing they never really talk about in the movies, which makes it a little bit weird when everyone's like, no, like Frodo's like, this is my burden, or people are like, no, this is yours. I just want to help you carry your burden. It's like, why? But in the books they kind of go into not very many people in this world can actually resist it.
I also really like that decision, though, from the movie's perspective of making everything like they have a lot of lore that they get across while also making stuff like that mysterious,
right,
and more cool to me. Because like it's really cool that there is a Silmarillion and all of this backstory and all of this lore, but it's also, I think, better for a movie's sake to make it vague when possible. And like give him needed information, but don't over explain shit to the point of it becoming like dull.
Well, it's like how much do you want to spend your precious few minutes on screen? No pun intended.
See what you intended it. Don't you even fucking
I didn't
pretend
realize it until I said it. But how you have those minutes have to be divvied up. You have to spend them. It's like a currency. Like how do you want to spend those minutes on screen? And there's usually a lot of stuff cut out of adaptations because that stuff is for the people that know the material, and the stuff that they tend to not focus on is stuff that a mainstream audience that doesn't know the material is probably not going to care about. How many people that are not familiar with Lord of the Rings are not going to sit there like wondering, like, why is Frodo the only one that can do this? What's the big deal? No one's thinking about that. Like, did you see the fucking eagles? The eagles are here. That's mainstream audience.
So much back and forth over the fucking eagles. It's like, why did they just use the eagles? Oh, I don't know. Because they have fucking Nazguls. They're just gonna destroy the eagles instantly and kill everybody. Like,
but Geoff,
were you aware they needed a fucking distraction to get rid of the 10,000 orcs? They were just chilling there.
But Geoff,
they can't just willy nilly fly the fucking eagles like they're a fucking Uber delivery service. Like,
no. Gandalf in Fellowship, before he fell, is clearly telling them to call the eagles.
I'm cringing so hard I pulled a fucking muscle, dude.
Yeah, he said, "Fly, you fools." That couldn't possibly mean anything like "run fast." That couldn't possibly be an expression people used to say.
It couldn't. It absolutely could not. You're absolutely right. And every nerd making that argument is correct. And I'm sorry.
He could not have been more clear about. They need to find a moth, tell it to bring the eagles, and release it.
Step 1,
find moth.
Step 2, eagle. Step 3, profit. There you go.
They don't even need to go in Mount Doom. Fly over it, drop the ring from a height. You'll know if you missed or if you hit, because if you hit, the tower explodes. Movie done and done.
If you reach the exploding volcano, you've gone too far. You have to turn around. Jesus Christ.
Okay, so you're gonna keep going. You're gonna keep going east until you see this tower with this giant eye on it. You're gonna want to take a slight right, and you should see the mountain behind the eye. Okay, that's where you're gonna go. Just drop the ring.
A lot of lava. You can't miss it.
Right down the road. Can't miss it. And we're back to Dark Souls.
Of course. Here's the thing. Also, did you also get when they later go to the ghost town that we'll talk about in the mountains? Did you get New Londo vibes? Did you get New Londo vibes a little bit from the ghost town? I kind of get that. I mean, that's just me. But
see, I got more Diablo.
Okay,
personally.
that makes sense.
Because I was gonna bring it up later. You know how I was talking about about King Leoric and Theoden and all that? Well, that is pre-Skeleton King Leoric there. Diablo 3 Skeleton King Leoric is clearly modeled after the King Ghost in Ghost Town there.
Nice.
Like it look like his character portrait looks almost identical to King Ghost there.
I love the Ghost Army. We'll get there.
Yeah,
Just real quickly, I want to talk something. I actually have a small quibble with Return of the King as far as when it comes to what they elected to remove when it comes to Sauron.
Okay.
Because I've always disliked how they never even. I mean, I understand he's pretty much a prisoner of Treebeard. He doesn't have any power. Blah 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 blah. It still felt like he needed more of a closure to his character.
Like he was just written out.
Because he's such an important character. Like the fucking title of the middle movie is about him. It's about him grouping up with Sauron.
You almost did the thing that I happen to do a lot. Their names are too fucking similar.
They're very like Tolkien. You were a genius when it comes to naming shit, but also like make it a little bit different.
I know
please.
who I'm talking about, but I tend to switch their names regardless.
Yeah. So the ending to his storyline in the book, I hate. Where like that is the best decision they make is to get rid of the Shire epilogue.
Yeah.
Where it's Sauron going back to the Shire after they've ended the story. That is such a bad use of pacing and just
it's an unsatisfying end to that character too.
Well, and it's also just it's not how you end this. The climax of the fucking trilogy is the ring getting destroyed, not Sauron going to fuck up the Shire. I'm sorry. That was just a terrible idea. They have
That's
a great
Podcast
ending.
Pete's favorite part of the book.
I'm sorry, Podcast Pete. I'm very sorry. They have a great ending to his character in the extended edition that they just elected to cut out. And it's very weird because it's only a 5-minute sequence. But when they are in Isengard at the beginning, and you said you haven't seen this at all, right?
Right.
Okay, I'll try to find the link to it so you can watch it. But when they go to Isengard,
it's only 3 hours
actually
and 50 minutes. You can get right through it. It's breezy.
It's breezy. When they go to Isengard, they actually have a kind of throwdown with Sauron a little bit. So he's up on top of his tower, right? I think it was the same one that Gandalf escaped from. But they have Sauron there, and it's Gandalf and them down there on their horses in the water talking shit to him. And Sauron is talking with them, and it actually ends up being he does something to piss off Grima Wormtongue, and Grima Wormtongue actually stabs Sauron in the back and kills him. So it actually has a closure to Grima's character and Sauron.
Well, bless my heart.
And it actually made you remember when we were complaining about why the fuck does Aragorn let him live?
Yeah, it closes that loop.
It closes that loop because he actually ended up, doing something with, outside of just screwing them over by telling them the weakness to Helm's Deep. It's like a cool ending, and the only reason I can think of outside of time because they already made the concession to make the movie over 3 hours long.
It's 3 hours and 21 minutes.
It's 3:20.
I don't think you're considering time when you cut out a 3 to 5 minute section.
The only thing I can think of is they didn't want to piss off book readers, but they already potentially are because they're correctly in doing so. But they eliminate him going to the Shire.
Right.
They eliminate the Sauron epilogue. So if you're gonna do that and change it anyway, why not leave in the closure to his storyline? It's really weird.
That is.
I never understood that. I'll show you this. I'll try to find the link and send it to you so you can watch it. But that is the only thing out of the entirety of what is removed for the theatrical cuts that I think was a mistake. I think it's silly not having closure to one of the most important characters of the first 2 films. Doesn't make any sense to me. I still adore this movie. And watching it, I almost wish I hadn't known that it existed because now my brain just kind of throws it in as canon,
right?
as I'm watching it,
right?
But it's not that big of a deal. But I think it is. I think it is silly to just when you we talked about when you're already going over to the 3 hour and 20 minute mark. What's 5 minutes? Who gives a shit? Just do it.
Yeah.
Make the story as best the best it can be.
When I'm down and out, I might rewatch these on the extended edition because they have the theatrical and the extended editions both on HBO.
Yeah, there's really good stuff, and you know, like if you're just sitting down to watch them, it doesn't hurt. You know,
Yeah.
it's just more scenes. But
And you know,
if you're making,
you always have the theatrical version if you don't like it.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, they do have like my brother won't watch the theatrical because he's just such a fucking dork for Lord of the Rings. He just wants every little bit of extra scene he can get, you know.
Right.
So he just flat out
wants it right in his
refuses to-
veins, right?
Exactly, which I totally get. I lean the other way. I typically watch theatrical cuts of stuff just because I'm of the opinion make it as lean as possible, and usually stuff is cut out for a reason.
I was gonna say the thing that's weird about me is you're the one that is more usually in tune with like the directors and everything, and like think about writing and pacing more than I do. But for some reason, I typically lean towards the theater version is the canon version of anything. Because like Ridley Scott has a famous quote about someone asked him about the director's cut of Blade Runner coming out or something.
All 12 of them.
Yeah.
There's so many fucking editions of Blade Runner, it's ridiculous.
And he says
there's like the director's cut and the final cut, and like which one, wait, if this is the final cut, what was the director's cut, dude?
Right, yeah. He said that as far as he's concerned, the director's cut is the one that you see in theaters. Usually the directors have nothing to do with the director's cut or any extended editions or anything like that. And his cut, if you want the director's cut, his cut is the one that was in theaters. And that's kind of the way I usually feel about it, for no reason, really, because I have no stake in writing or directing or anything. But I don't know. I always default to theatrical.
Ultimately, I default to theatrical because they're typically a leaner edit, and I think as lean and as quickly paced you can make your story. I say as we talk about these 3-hour fucking dork movies about elves and shit. But as lean as you can make the story, just in general, usually it's for the better of it, I think.
Especially when you're covering as much terrain, no pun intended.
Oh yeah.
As Lord of the Rings. Like, I don't get why these movies are worth watching at all, Jeff. When you think about
it's absolutely absurd
how dense those books are. The fact that they could not only make good movies out of them, but good movies that I believe largely satisfy the majority of fans of the books.
Oh yeah, there's no one who's a bigger, like we talked about him,
Colbert. Do you know of that satisfies the people that know nothing about it and the people that know everything about it?
To the extent that this does, like, you know, like it's Colbert's like favorite thing that's ever been made, and no one's a bigger fan of the material than him.
He went up into a Jeopardy style trivia match against the world leading Tolkien expert, and he won. He beat the world's leading Tolkien, which I believe, in my opinion, that guy loses his job, and that makes Colbert the fucking expert on Tolkien.
Yeah.
What?
So let's talk about some specific story elements and characters and everything that you know we really need to, because that's pretty much what we did to differentiate. You know, the Two Towers episode was talk about what's different about it. First of all, does anyone play Deranged better than John fucking Noble? Because I don't think so. John Noble is so fucking good in this movie.
John Noble. Is there anything he's ever been bad in? That
he's just one of those dudes. Doesn't matter what it is, he's giving you his fucking A game, and he's so fucking good
and he'll
so
do
sinister.
Anything. It doesn't matter if it's TV, stage, movies. It doesn't matter what any of the scripts are. Yeah, he shows up if you ask him. It seems
he has so much
and Christopher Lee
too.
Both, by the way, Christopher Lee tended to do that as well.
Yeah,
he was fucking
so good.
He was fucking Johnny Depp's dad in that Willy Wonka movie.
Oh really?
Yeah. Did you ever see it?
I didn't see the. I'm assuming that's a Tim Burton one.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
He owns a candy factory because his dad
it.
was a dentist, and his dad is Christopher Lee.
Oh yeah, I've seen that that scene. I think when I caught like a few minutes of it.
I think that was the same year Christopher Lee's
something.
death metal album came out. By the way, that is a real thing. Man. People Google it.
Oh, it totally is, and I fucking miss that man so much. But yeah, oh my god, the fucking scene when he is dousing himself with the oil and he is just so far gone. It's so good.
Can we talk about before that moment though, when Pippin runs to Gandalf
is singing? Oh yeah.
And he's just like, he's got to burn him alive. And the look on Gandalf's face, like, the fuck?
Oh, I cannot express how much I love the scene too when John Noble is up on top of the very very top perch where the tree is, and he tells everyone, like, run for your lives, abandoned post, and Gandalf just beats the shit out of him and immediately takes charge in front of everyone.
Like,
and instead
he
of
shouted
being,
to all of Minas Tirith, and people turned around and looked up just to see him get side-clocked by Gandalf and then beaten to the ground by an old man with a stick. Like, all of Minas Tirith saw this happen.
And just the fact that after he does that, instead of being, like, arrested for, like, assaulting and almost killing the fucking steward,
he just decides to burn him and his son alive.
Just the fact that Gandalf immediately assumes control of the situation and takes charge of the entire city. And everyone's listened. Like, everyone listens. They're just like, yes.
Did you see what he just fucking did to Denethor? Dude, I'm doing what he says. Like,
yeah, don't fuck with him. And also, they actually respect him. Yeah. Because, it's just like Gandalf's been saying, like, the writing's been on the wall the writing's been on the wall that they were going to be attacked for quite some time, and he never even bothered to bolster the river city.
Well,
like, their situation would have gone a lot differently if he had been willing to.
They never should have abandoned Osgiliath so easily, They really should retake the city.
Maybe the best editing of the entire trilogy is that sequence when he's eating and Pippin is singing and they're having the suicide run against Osgiliath, and the orcs are just like waiting to shoot at them.
Somehow it's his like eating is like the perfect allegory for what is happening. Or metaphor. I always confuse those two.
The sound effects of his eating, being like bumped up in the mix too, just to make it like unsettling. God, it's just one of the best like pieces of editing ever, because it's so heartbreaking but so intense at the same time. And man,
he loves you,
great.
Faramir.
Man, when Faramir, when he's talking about, you wish I had swapped places with Boromir, that I had died and he had lived, and he just flat out tells him yes. And then he says, when he's leaving, and basically agreeing to do the suicide run, he's like, should I return, think differently of me. That should, that depends on the manner of your return. You're just like, God, dude.
Hey, he does.
He's so he's so evil. Oh man.
Yeah, he's. Oof. And he has the jab too. He's like, I don't think we should have abandoned our post in
the outer defenses.
The outer defenses.
Yeah, he says like the outer defenses.
Held.
So yeah.
Yeah.
That his brother held when they weren't in combat against the fucking. Yeah. Against the current army is the biggest army literally ever assembled.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But it's just he's just deranged, and he's just gone.
He's in denial. Like, he's in mourning and he's in denial. I get I get that people are not in their best headspace when they're mourning, especially I can't imagine a child. Something tells me he was just an asshole before too. Because
well, and he's because you'll notice too that he's more
Helm's Deep. That's all I'm saying.
he's also just, you can tell he's almost more fixated on the fact that, because one of the first things he says to Gandalf is that he knows he's about to be usurped.
Yeah,
he knows that one of the dudes in Gandalf's company
Denethor's having
Aragorn.
A bad day.
He's having a very bad day, and just like, man, the stuff with Faramir is just devastating to me.
Oh, the venom in Gandalf's voice when he says the word steward in that line, dude.
Here's another thing that I love about this movie that I just thought of when we were talking about Gandalf and Minas Tirith. How awesome is it that they do all of the foreshadowing that Gandalf and the Witch King are going to fight, and they never fight? I actually really think that's a cool like misdirect, because they're always talking up. He's like, I'm going to break him.
Yeah.
And they're setting it up when Gandalf is talking about the Witch King, and then, Pippin saying, we have the White Wizard, that accounts for something. And they all lead up to like, oh, they're going to have like this like massive showdown.
Dude, the wizard is going to fight a Nazgul.
Yeah. And just the fact that ends up totally not happening, that is like a good twist. That is that how
they even kind of tease it a little bit further when Gandalf rides out to cover the retreat.
Yeah. Because
he rides out and confronts them all so that they have to fly away and let them retreat.
Yeah, I think that's what leads to the Witch King. It is. Like I will break him.
Yeah,
and they just lead up this whole thing. So like this happening is a good like twisting of expectation. You know how like when the later seasons of Game of Thrones happen and they just switched expectation just for the sake of doing it. This is actually like a cool, messing with expectations to me. And especially because I think Eowyn has a lot of really great character work in this too. I think she ends up being one of my favorite moments of the movie. It's like, I am no man.
Do you know so what that entire scene reminds me of because of her taking the head off of his mount?
So badass, by the way.
Do you know what that all reminds me of, though? Obviously, with less love involved, but Dark Souls 3, bringing it home.
How did I was about to joke that it was a reference to Dark Souls, and then you actually were switching to Dark Souls. So respect. There you go.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of his actual name, but Gwen's son. What's his name in the game?
The Nameless King?
Yes, the Nameless King. When you take out Storm King or whatever his mount is called, and it goes to that cutscene, and he goes over and puts his hand on it and stuff, like that part is missing, but you literally... I feel like that whole boss fight is modeled after what Eowyn goes through.
I can see
here
that
in Lord of the Rings, because it's kind of the same premise, and then you take out the mount, and Nameless King gets fucking pissed.
Also, I fucking love the Witch King design.
Oh, I know.
God, he looks so cool. He looks so fucking badass. I love it. I like too the way after the Nazgul gets his head lopped off, how he just kind of like appears through the wings almost as the Nazgul's dying. It's just all so fucking cool. And when he gets killed, when he just implodes
like a fucking black hole,
like a black hole, it's so cool.
I was like,
and
she
also,
let his air out.
And also like the
but he was literally a bag of hot air,
pretty much. And the fact that Sauron ends up having the same type of thing happen, like the implosion.
Yeah.
So there's connective tissue with just like the way that they just implode as they're just like this mass of just fucking dark.
We're going to talk about that because that's one of my favorite like moments in a movie, like as far as stylistically the way it looks.
Oh my God.
Dude,
so good.
When Eowyn is fighting the fucking the fucking oh God, the undead king, right?
Yeah.
There's a moment when he reveals the flail.
Oh, the Witch King.
The Witch King, yeah. When he reveals the flail, I told Chris, I was like, if that were to hit your shield, by the way, because she's dodging it, not trying to block it. I was like, that's gonna shatter every bone in your arm. And when it happens, she is holding her arm like it's fucking useless and mangled now. Like she's holding her arm close to her chest after the shield explodes. And I was like, detail I've never actually noticed because I actually stopped to think about it this time. But
the fact that her arm's broken.
Her arm is broken now, and she's holding it like it's broken. Yep.
So
and dude,
good.
that shield explodes, by the way. It splinters.
Also, I love the detail as she goes to Theoden as he's dying, that the first thing he says is, "I know your face."
Yes.
That he said to her in the second movie when he is able to get out of the mind control. It's so good.
The other detail that I like, by the way, is he's dying and he talks about like how his eyes are darkening. It takes him a moment to recognize her, and you see it in his face the moment when he does, but he's looking at her for like a solid 5-10 seconds of screen time, which is not a lot. But in a movie, when nothing is happening and you're just watching an old man look at a girl like that, that's hang time. That is a long time. And then you see the recognition in his face like slowly come over him, and then he says the line. And it's so good because you can tell just how far gone he actually is at that moment when it took him several seconds to recognize his niece.
And just like the way that the impact of the horse landing on him is shot as it's all just hard to watch. And he ends up being, I think, like one of the like unsung heroes of the films. Because like Theoden could totally just come across as like an asshole with some of the decisions he makes. And he is like an asshole in some instances, like when he's initially hesitant to go help Gondor. When you think about it, he's not wrong. Gondor totally bailed on them like multiple times.
Oh, yeah, so I had this conversation with Christina also. He's not wrong. And like I said in our Two Towers coverage, even this shit that you're like, come on, man, like his arguments for everything still make sense. Right? Like,
yeah, ultimately he's just trying to protect his people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he has to think about that. He can't just ride off because it's going to cost Rohan lives. Like when people are going to die in the battlefield in Gondor fighting for Minas Tirith, that's not their lives being lost. Those are Rohanian lives being lost. So he has to consider that. But yeah, he's angry. Gondor did not come to their aid. So yeah, of course he's fucking angry. Of course that to him that is personal. This is his country, his people, everything that died because of this. But the thing that I love, the reason why Theoden is still one of my favorite characters, is because
mine too. I love Theoden.
When the moment came, as angry and upset as he is, he immediately called for everyone to ride to Gondor.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like the hesitation that you see is for the audience, not the characters, right? Because there's that moment of, well, what's he going to do? Because the beacons are lit. What's he going to do?
There's just dramatic irony.
I think that is more for the audience, not the characters, because like his voice is commanding when he says we ride to Gondor. And
Rohan will answer.
Yes,
is that what he says?
Yes, yeah. Rohan will answer.
Good God, dude. And the actor's name for Theoden is Bernard Hill, and I don't think we talked about him much in the last episode, but he's also one of my favorite characters. And his fucking war cry as they're about to descend down the hill is just like shit. Like almost gives me goosebumps.
And again,
it's such a good speech.
He's out
and
front.
He's so good at delivering it. Yeah, I love, like we talked about it in the last episode. We talked about Two Towers. You know, just how much of like a Viking culture they're in, and he's such like a cool.
They know
representation
it's
of
suicide too. We've talked about that before. They know it's suicide, and he is still out front leading the charge.
God, I love his character.
Yeah,
I love that.
So
I love
good.
that scene. And dude, when their theme kicks in as they're descending into the charge, it's like one of my favorite scenes in a movie. Just period.
Yeah, how many
theme.
movies? I don't care if they're series or not. How many movies go back to the music from the previous movie?
And it's just like, man, Howard Shore is just like a fucking genius because there's little like continuations where some of the themes are, you know, like
merge almost
slightly, just like almost like some of them get like merged, some of them are slightly changed.
Yeah.
But man, when they descend into that battle charge after that speech, you're just like fucking pumped, dude. It's great.
He rides across, hitting the flat of his sword against their spears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. I love it so much. Yeah.
God. Dude, that scene when you start in close as they're plowing through the orc army and then it pulls out and you just see them cutting the army in half and just plowing through them. Oh, it's so good. And they're staying all tight. Like they can't break them because there's just too many horses in a row.
So good.
So good. But
let's talk a little bit about the fights with the fights with the Oliphants.
Okay,
too.
before we do that, there's something specifically I want to mention that we have mentioned but haven't talked about. One of my favorite moments, I think, in movies is how pumped is the feeling of watching each one of the beacons light. Like, how much do you just want to sit up in your chair like, yes, let's fucking do it?
It's just watching shit get set on fire, and it's, you know, the most like intense and courageous moment of the movie. It's so
cool. The music and the way the camera's angled to show you the one front and center, but you have the next one in the distance light up in the background as well.
It's perfect.
It's so good. And then there's occasionally there might just be one. I might actually be wrong. There might just be one where you see the lit one in the distance. They light theirs, and as the camera is panning as like a flyover, then you see the next one light. And it's just like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah, and you're just watching shit get set on fire.
It's just a bunch of wood stacked up with some oil getting lit on fire. Yeah.
But the framing of it is so good, and it's just like, man, he just knew, like, every single music choice is perfect.
Like
every single music choice is just immaculately like,
and it's
there
not,
to convey what they want you to feel.
Yeah, and it's not just the visuals and the audio either. They have been setting up for this moment just as much as the showdown in front of Minas Tirith, because you know what's at stake. You know what's happening. You know what's about to happen to the Kingdom of Gondor, to the city of Minas Tirith. You know that this is it. This is pretty much the final battle. And you've got Rohan that's just like, fuck them. For good reason, but still, fuck them. And you're just like, no. And then they start...
Gondor calls for aid.
Gondor calls for aid, man. But then they start lighting the beacons, and because you as the audience member know the weight of what's happening and you're invested watching each one of those beacons light up as the music builds on itself from fire to fire.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's so good.
Absolutely. It's so good.
I feel like every episode is just me going, it's so good, Geoff.
It's, well, you know what? They are so fucking good, dude. You're not wrong. They're so good. This movie series about them trying to throw a piece of jewelry into a volcano is just like the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It's
I
ridiculous.
just want someone to melt my grandma's ring down. That's all I want.
Oh, and along the way, they find a talking tree. Don't forget about that part. We talked about the Ghost Army.
So let's talk about the Ghost Army.
How cool is it? First of all, I really like that scene when they first show Aragorn like looking down that fucking like little ravine, you know, and you just see like the slight outline of the Ghost King guy. That's fucking cool.
Do you really?
And yeah, if you go back and
when they do the Zolly,
I don't know if it's when they do the Zolly, but when Aragorn is visibly shaken, you can see the Ghost King's face in the center down the ravine.
Really?
Super cool. He's just kind of like half you know how he's automatically transparent when they fully show him later. He's like half of that transparency, but you can just see
in
him
the mountain pass.
In the mountain pass,
really?
Yeah, I'll try to find the sequence and I can screen share it to you or capture it later for you. But you can see him just barely, and I like how they continue how the ghosts have that shade of green.
Yes.
That is also how fucking metal is the fucking Witch King palace where it's all like cloaked in that ghost green.
Dude, when it's like materializes out of the wall and everything, like that green, like I have heard the term, like I've read it in books and everything, sickly green. I've never been able to imagine it as well as I show it in this movie. The only way I can describe it is sickly.
Yes, exactly. And like the Ghost Army has it, and then like they have that same sickly green. You know when Sam, Smeagol, and Frodo are about to ascend the Nope Mountain, like fuck that shit. But how the Witch King's palace is also like kind of cloaked in that sickly green, and it's just like a really cool like color palette choice. It always makes it look so fucking like unnatural and unnerving to me.
Yeah, no, it's a really good choice, and it's that color. I don't even know how to really even describe it.
You just have to see it.
Yeah, you just have to see it.
Yeah, you
could never describe that color to anyone.
Also, is there a more terrifying scene in a movie than when Sam is just casually taking a nap on the fucking edge of the cliffside? Up the pass. You remember that scene where...
That depends from your point of view, because I'm pretty sure if you were that ghostly king, the most terrifying thing in a movie is when a human grabs you.
True.
Because that was the thing that I was going to say is how badass is it when Aragorn just fucking grabs a ghost?
How great is that sword design, by the way? Like his sword after he gets remade is like one of my favorite weapons in a movie. It's such a cool look.
It's so good.
I want one of them on my wall. It's such a cool fucking sword.
I have Gandalf's sword. But I don't have the sword
Yeah, his is super awesome. Cool. Super awesome too, though. So I cannot.
Whoa! Hold on. I'm looking on my phone, so I can just barely see it. I wish I could zoom in. I think I see his clothes blowing in the wind.
Who's
the Ghost King?
Oh, the Ghost King shot.
Holy
Yeah.
shit balls! I've never seen that before. That is new to me.
Yeah, you can see his face too if you are able to like screenshot it and zoom in a little bit. You can see his face. He's just barely there. It's a cool little almost horror movie shot, you know.
Yeah, here now that you keep going the show. I'm gonna watch this movie. I'm gonna.
Yeah. Let's just turn into so at the hour
getting this on a
mark.
Bigger
Let's just turn into a commentary of the extended editions. This is gonna be a 5-hour episode. And it's fine.
We should do one episode that's a commentary on all 3 movies. What is that, like 12, 13 hours?
I just passed out thinking about it.
I am no man.
Also, one of my this is a random thought because I'm just scrolling through the photos on the IMDb as I tend to do.
Uh-huh.
One of my favorite uses of the main like is when Shelob is spinning up Frodo and you just see the sword and Sam come into frame with the music is great.
Yes.
Always love that shot. You're just like, fuck yeah, dude. Also, Sam is to me almost ends up becoming like the main character. When you just look at like all the shit he has to deal with, like with the fucking Smeagol being an asshole, and the fact he's like literally just like carrying Frodo up the fucking mountain. And you know they're always talking about, you know, like for Frodo, and they're always concerned about Frodo. It's like, hey, Sam's there too, guys. Dude, it was like, come on, man.
Okay, hold on. I have to back us up because what I did was I went on my TV and muted the TV, and I'm looking at it now. I have never fucking seen this moment with the king standing in the ravine before.
That's crazy. Yeah, he's always been there.
I'm looking right at him, and I don't know how I fucking missed him. I'm looking right at him. He's looking right back at me.
Yep, he is there. Hey, the more you know, dude. The more you know.
Also, now that I've got this freeze framed, I'm looking at the mountain pass itself. Some of these like tree roots and stuff look more like human skeletons than anything.
When they go up to the entrance, they probably are, because when they go up to the entrance, there are skeletons lining the exterior.
I saw
of the,
that, but there's like one directly in your face to the right.
I'll have to look for that. I did not notice that at the
dude. This is this is very, very New Londo.
Right?
Oh my god,
I love it.
The thing I was gonna say about that, because I feel like they were setting up the audience to think we were about to shift protagonists. That the movie,
I can see that.
The movie really is about Sam. You know, to bring us back on track where you were, because I was watching a movie.
He almost ends up becoming that. You know, with the way that, because even the novel switches perspectives to Sam, right? At the very end.
And I want to say, and I like this better. I like the movie version better. I want to say in the book, doesn't he use the ring to get to Frodo? Isn't that how he gets into the tower instead of everybody killing each other? And then he walks into a room full of dead bodies for no reason? Wait, is that not one of the greatest things? Like this, that goes back to, if you want to bring all the twists of destiny and fate that Gandalf's been talking about in the books, if you want to introduce that in a movie, like Sam hits the fucking jackpot when an entire army just fucking, like an entire battalion of orcs just murders each other.
Off of one argument, the entire
shiny shirt
army
is mine.
Kills. Yeah. And again, we talked about it before. How fucking great are the orc actors, dude?
Oh, they're so good.
They're all so singularly just disgusting and weird, and I love it.
Like, I may be the only person on the planet that busts out laughing every time I hear a fucking disgusting looking orc just go, "That shiny shirt is mine."
Yeah, it's a great line.
Like, everything is so
the shiny
nasty.
Shirt is mine.
Everything around them is so dirty and nasty, and they're dirty and nasty, but god damn it if orcs don't love mithril, apparently.
Yeah, it's a shiny shirt, dude.
It's a very shiny shirt. And by the way, since we've already mentioned it earlier, Colbert is wearing a mithril shirt in the rap song, and it's amazing.
Which he probably already owned.
I'm assuming that's
brought
his.
It to the
yes.
Set. It's got to be.
And if it's not, it is now. It's probably hanging in his closet.
Also, we have to talk about just how. But we talked about the CGI being good and, you know, like very good for its time. I think there are moments where the CGI is just fucking fantastic, even to today's standards in this movie. Shelob looks great. Did you notice Smeagol looks like a lot better in this too?
He looks better from movie to movie.
He looked, and I think part of it is probably just them having extra time to do the special effects.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, yeah.
But man, and it's also just them perfecting the technique, because Smeagol has just great CGI in this movie. Like there's moments where you can see, you know, like where when they get closer to the volcano, how like their lips are chapped, and like even Smeagol's lips are chapped as part of the effect, and like just those minor details they have on his effect is great.
There's something also that bears mentioning. We talked in the Fellowship episode about what exactly Lord of the Rings is responsible for, like all the Dungeons and Dragons stuff, all the sword and sorcery, Game of Thrones, probably The Witcher, I'm going to assume also, at least inspired by, like that kind of universe. The other thing, though, that it did, we talked about some of the filming techniques and stuff that are happening today, but motion capture wasn't really a thing before Andy Serkis and Gollum. It was hard to do. It was expensive to do. It wasn't that reliable. It didn't really look that great. You didn't see it often. They did use it, but you didn't see it often. And Andy Serkis and Gollum and Lord of the Rings movies, thanks to them and everything that they did with motion capture is in everything. Every video game you play is motion capture.
Yeah. I was just about to say, they revolutionized video games because every fucking major AAA cutscene is filmed through motion capture now. Like
the Tomb Raider reboot trilogy that you and I love. Camilla Luddington voices Lara Croft, but she also portrays Lara Croft. She does all the motion capture for Lara.
Yeah. Like Last of Us and Naughty Dog. Like Naughty Dog is a fucking successful studio because of their ability to do great motion capture.
Naughty Dog needs to fucking cut it out and just go ahead and make a movie, because that's what Naughty Dog really wants to do.
Yeah, they pretty much already do. They're just interactive fiction, pretty much.
They, like you said, they revolutionized video games. They made that kind of special effects and that kind of realism kind of easy and cheap relatively to obtain for anyone that wants to do it. Sci-Fi Channel movies use it. I mean, it's a thing that just everyone uses now. You can use it yourself at home if you have a green screen, a good enough camera, and good enough software that can track whatever you want it to track. Like, it's just a thing that everyone takes for granted now, and it was not a thing when these movies came out. It existed, but it was expensive and hard to use, and this was the tech demo for motion capture.
Yeah, that changed everything.
Yeah, this is the thing that proved to the world that, no, this is a technology to invest in.
Also, they're just standard CG work on the Minas Tirith battle sequences when you see just how many fucking CGI horses are on screen, yet they never really, like, you can tell when they're CGI sometimes, but they look great for 20-year-old CGI. Yeah. Like, just fucking fantastic. Like they earned all those fucking Oscars they got for this shit for the effects, because, like, good God. Like, it looks fantastic.
One thing also I remembered I wanted to talk about when we brought up Shelob. I should have brought this up when we were talking about the chain around Frodo's neck. But we talked about how there's a lore and a history to this world and the Silmarillion and everything. While they don't go into it and they don't talk about any of it, you can tell in the movies that there is a history to this world as well. Shelob, half of Shelob's fucking face is burned off. No one ever addresses it. No one ever talks about it. No one ever points it out. But that spider is missing half of its face. There is the orc general that has clearly seen some shit. He's got, like, no use of one of his arms, and his face is all scarred up. They don't feel the need to tell you about that. Like, they just let things be, but make it so that there is a clear history to these characters, even characters that are only in this movie and only for a few minutes on screen. they go
and it makes it. I was just gonna say it makes it feel so lived in.
I was gonna say it makes it lived in. They're going out of the way to make it feel lived in, like a real world.
They never grind the movie to a halt like lesser, especially fantasy.
Yeah.
There's so much bad fantasy
They
out
want
there
to tell you everything.
that just they grind the story or movie or whatever to a fucking halt just to do exposition. And there is exposition in Lord of the Rings, but it's just there's so much sleight of hand to make it natural that everything is just it never feels like a chore to learn more about the world.
But do you know what? Do you know one thing they do that is kind of clever in the books, though? At least in my opinion.
What's that?
And this is obviously interpretation, but you never read about any of the history of the world or any of the history of the characters from text. It's always someone telling someone else the story. So exactly how reliable is the information that someone is telling them, and where did they get the information? You see where I'm going? Like,
it's like legend instead of history.
Yeah, how
almost.
much of it is history and how much of it is the myth, right? There's a lot you find out from Gandalf, and Gandalf is old enough and wise enough to probably have been there. But even he mentions sometimes that, people don't really know, but it is said that, so even he is telling you that he's recounting something else he has heard a lot of the time. It's not like they open up a book and like, all right, gather around, children. Let's talk about Shelob. Like, yeah. Also, fuck Shelob for existing, because Shelob is the reason that I have to deal with that fucking spider in Bloodborne.
Aurora does not like spiders and was not having Shelob.
So she loves Bloodborne.
Of course, yeah. Game of the year 2015, as you do. But it's very funny. I am not affected by spiders at all, so it doesn't bother me at all. But I understand, like, some people just like they literally can't look at Shelob without having a panic attack.
You should play some Bloodborne, show her that, and then show her the fucking dogs and birds that have the heads switched.
God, I love that game. I love that game so
for no reason. I know there's a lore reason, but even the lore reason is no reason.
Is that a bird dog? No, clearly it's a dog bird. I mean, come on now.
Normally I would say you should be ashamed for that, because that joke is so obvious, but it works so well, because that is basically the lore of why their heads are switched.
Yeah, it's the Adult Swim version of Cat Dog. It's a very dark tale. So you don't want to go down that road.
Someone literally, basically in the lore, was like, "Yeah, I have an idea for a joke, but I need you to get me a bird and a dog, otherwise it makes no sense."
Step 1, bird. Step 2, dog.
Step 3, profit.
Step 3, profit. Oh my goodness. Is there any other tidbits that we? Okay. Here's a scene I have to talk about, because it's maybe like I don't know. Every fucking Ian McKellen line delivery is just incredible in all
Which
these
is
movies.
why I want to hear him
like,
rap.
Literally, or like that too. Or like literally every fucking line the man has ever made in any project at any point is just amazing. But how good is that scene when he's sitting there with Pippin and they're talking about dying?
It
makes me cry. His face, his delivery, and the music,
and his
together
and his expression,
makes me cry every time.
How he's looking off like it's a memory, right?
Good, yeah, just so much fucking emotion just off of his expressions alone. And
yeah,
good God, it's such a great scene.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good. It's almost unfair.
Yeah,
it's just like it's so fucking good. And like, good God, Howard Shore just. The music choice in every scene is just fucking perfect. Like, how is every single thing the perfect decision?
Like, that close up too, like his face fills the fucking screen as he's recounting what dying is like. Yeah,
it's so fucking great.
The way it just comes, it's greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, it 1000% is. And man, I could just go on and on. Also, we haven't talked about it. How amazing is the design of Minas Tirith?
I fucking love Minas Tirith. Now,
it's so cool.
They might have said this in the book. I've only been through the books in audio form and one time, but is that carved out of the mountain just like Helm's Deep?
Yes. Yes, I think it is carved out of the mountain because it's the same. It's the same color.
It's that same limestone color. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same color and it's the same texture.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's just flat out carved out of the mountain. And like, what a cool idea for a city.
That's what I've always assumed is that it's carved out of the mountain. But
yeah, me too. Because it's such a cool idea from Tolkien, and then like just their representation of it. It looks like royalty, you know. It looks, and it's practical too, because it makes it. How long are they able to withstand that army?
Yeah,
I mean, like mostly because of how great the fucking like the city design is, as far as making it almost like impossible to breach. Because it's just
give me some spears and a few good men, I'll impregnate the bitch. I like you.
Oh man, but yeah, I always loved Minas Tirith, and like
Minas Tirith is one of my favorite fantasy cities. Like anytime you see in a video game or a movie, them fly over some city, like I never get tired of looking at Minas Tirith.
Yeah,
it's just so cool, so pretty, and it just seems, even in those wide shots and you're looking at it all at once, for some reason the scale and the perspective should be lost, but it's not. It just seems colossal even when you're looking at it from a distance.
I'm gonna try to find it, but have you seen the time-lapse video of the artist that will take a novel version of Fellowship, and then on the, you know, like on the side of the book where all the pages align, how sometimes there's like a picture inscribed into that edge where all the pages connect. They should fucking sell them on like Fiverr if they can, just in any way, shape, or form, because I would totally fucking buy a set with this rendition done to it. But on the edge where the pages are, they inscribed, you know, the two like giant statues that have their arms out in Fellowship. They put that picture onto the side of the book, and it looks fucking gorgeous. And I would love to have a Return of the King book with Minas Tirith scribed into the pages like that. Like I can't even explain it, like how fucking amazing it would look, because the artist is incredible. I'll try to find it. I would love to have a set with like that on the Fellowship side, Minas Tirith on the Return of the King one, and like Helm's Deep or something on the Two Towers book. That'd be so cool. Like, they look so cool. I'll try to find it later for you. But man, again, I could find more shit to gush about, you know, just showing the photos. But is there any other stuff that you feel like we've
I cut you off before we managed to talk about the battle for Minas Tirith and the elephants and all that.
Oh yeah, it's great. I mean, it's kind of speaks.
Speaks for right. We were going to talk about that. Okay, so hear me out. It's great.
I don't know if you've heard this yet on these episodes, but it's so fucking good, Ron. It's so fucking good.
But you know what would have rendered it completely unnecessary? If they had just flown. Gandalf told them to call the Eagles.
The fucking Eagles, dude.
And none of this would have happened. Yeah.
Step one, Eagle. Oh god.
Yeah, no,
I like I like the fight sequences with the elephants a lot. Like when Legolas just fucking takes down that entire elephant by himself.
Dude, how?
So
do you know what makes riding on that thing terrifying? The fact that there is one rope that can be cut with a single stroke of a knife, holding the whole saddle on the back on. Could you imagine? Like, this is how I died. We didn't strap these things to these things well enough, and this is how I died.
Some motherfucker didn't do a good enough knot.
Yeah.
And now we all died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love how he uses the rope to walk up the side of the elephant.
It's great.
Like, he cuts it. And what the best part of the whole thing, he slides down the trunk, lands on the ground, and the look on his face was like, that fucking worked. Or like, that fucking happened. Like, when he's done.
Yeah. He's always so confident in his ability to be a badass that he even that caught him off guard. He was almost like, that fucking worked.
Like his expression when Aragorn goes, Legolas, bring it down. He's just like, ugh. And then he goes and does it. And then after he does it, he's just like, huh.
Yeah.
Like, he has no words. He just goes, like, his facial expression just goes, huh. That still only counts as one.
That's it. Good, John Rhys Davies. Love you. Seriously. Like, how many fucking one-liners in these movies are directly attributed to John Rhys Davies?
All of them.
Delivery. Pretty much all of them.
Even when he's not Gimli. Because earlier, I don't know if you caught it, but I'm sure the listeners did when you were telling me about Saruman. I was just like, bless my bark. That's what Treebeard says in that scene.
Yeah.
All of it.
It's amazing. Random music tidbit I want to talk about. When Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli first depart the Corsair ships.
Oh my god! I wanted to talk about that moment in general because
oh my god,
no one is having a worse day than Theoden at this point, right? Because first everything is going better than expected, and then the oh fuck look on his face when the elephants start showing up. Then they actually bring down one or two, right, dude? By the way. When they take out the guy driving one of them and he falls, and notice they're steering them by pulling on their ears, right? Like a horse, you pull on the bit in the mouth, but they're pulling on the ears. And when he falls to the left side of the elephant and he's hanging from the ear, so the elephant turns hard left into the other one and it takes out two in one spear throw. Was that Carl Urban that did that?
It's Éomer. Yeah, it's our boy. Yeah.
Yeah. One spear.
Fucking badass, dude.
Two
One
beasts
spear.
and a dozen men? But anyways.
Fucking badass, dude.
So then he has the what fucking now look on his face when the Nazgul comes down. And things are just looking so bad. And then the Corsair ships show up and you're like, oh good. Now the evil mercenaries are here. And even the orcs are like, you're late and everything. They're yelling at him. And then he yells at him to depart, and Aragorn jumps down, and then Gimli and Legolas jump down, and they're getting ready to fucking, draw their weapons and fight them, and Aragorn just starts that saunter towards the group, like, you don't have a fucking chance against me, saunter. And then as he breaks off into a run, all the ghosts just come through the ship.
And the music kicks in, and I just want to get out of my chair and scream yes at the TV every fucking time, dude.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
I love it. I remember too. I actually saw this in the theater. I was like,
my blood starts pumping as soon as he starts sauntering towards the camera.
It's so good. But I remember watching this movie. I think I would have been 12.
Is this the Captain America moment of Lord of the Rings?
Pretty much. I can still remember just the crowd losing their fucking minds when that scene happened, because it's just chef's kiss.
You notice how fast the battle ends after that point?
How cool is it too that the fucking ghosts swarm like World War Z style?
They break like water.
When they swarm the elements.
They break over everything like water.
Yeah, it's fucking dude. Like, how is everything so good?
And they literally flood the city. And you see what the king expected to happen when Aragorn blocked him with the sword is people are raising their weapons to defend themselves, and their weapons are cutting through them, through their sword like it's not there, but killing the person it's hitting.
Yeah.
And that's what, he expected when Aragorn fucking blocked it and then grabbed him by the throat.
Fucking metal as shit, dude.
Aragorn is so great.
I love too that they take care of why didn't they just fucking keep the ghosts around? Because that's what Gimli wants to do. Gimli's like, these guys are pretty fucking handy to fight. Like, why don't we keep them around? And Aragorn's obviously honorable and shit, but I just like that Gimli is just like, why don't we keep them around another 20 minutes? Maybe they'll come in handy.
Who knows? We might end up at the Black Gate. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, fucking awesome, dude.
And that sound effect, that screeching sound effect as they wash over everything. But that battle ends the instant Aragorn shows up.
So let's just recap. Okay, so they're trying to throw jewelry into a magical volcano.
Podcast Beat's like,
There's a giant.
With you.
There's a giant eye in a tower.
What?
There's a talking tree.
Okay,
and there's a ghost army trying to take out giant elephants.
Giant elephants and ghost armies? What the fuck is happening?
This sounds like some fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And it is my favorite trilogy of all time. Everything I just said is absolutely fucking factual.
It's not even over. There's more, Geoff.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more.
There's more.
What's
your opinion on what's your opinion on the like 27 fake out endings that a lot of people have problems with?
It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers my wife.
I can see, I could see it being irritating to people. I understand it. It has never bothered me that much, but I wish they hadn't have done it the way they did.
It irritated me more in theaters because I really had to pee. It's just like,
well, in your defense, you've been in the theater for what, 27 straight hours?
Dude, I remember when Return of the King came out, being so angry that I couldn't get tickets to AMC because they were starting with Fellowship and then going right into Two Towers. And when Two Towers ended, it was going to be 12:01 a.m. and Return of the King was going to start. And
it's like I'm not gonna get up and just go to the bathroom and miss the ghost army fighting the giant elephants, dude. It's just not gonna happen.
Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? But I'm trying to imagine being those people. Also, every time the screen fades to black, it's like, okay, and you got your arms on your hands on the arms of the chair, ready to push yourself up, and then it fades back in for another 10 minutes. And you're like, okay, and then it fades out. You're like, all right, okay, God, thank God, I have to pee so bad. Oh, okay, here we go again. Okay,
well, it's just they have I think they have 2 fade to blacks and 2 fade to whites, and I'm just like, what the fuck are y'all doing?
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. I just think it's funny because it's just like,
it doesn't bother me as much as I have a pause button.
It almost just feels like they were trying to just fuck with people, and I just don't really get that. Or maybe it was just Peter Jackson tried to make it epic, and like I don't know. I really don't know, but a lot of people fucking hate it, and I just think it's kind of funny.
On the one hand, it is annoying. I don't hate it, but it is a bit irritating.
It's obnoxious.
It's obnoxious.
Is what it is.
But on the other hand, also it kind of feels like either each chapter of a book ending when you move on to the next chapter, or have you ever been in like the wrap up of a book where you get a couple of paragraphs and then the 3 asterisks in a line by themselves and then a couple more paragraphs?
Yeah. That makes sense.
It kind of feels like that to me. And I can understand doing that, but I can also understand not doing that because it's a fucking movie.
the one that actually annoys me, like everything else I just find funny. The one that annoys me is when they do the fade to black while Sam and Frodo are on the like rock as the lava's coming down. That's the one that's obnoxious to me, because they could have just showed them passing out and then just show the eagles coming in the background. That didn't have to be a sequence break, because it's not a fucking sequence break. Yeah, they were probably there for like a fucking hour or so, but you don't need a fucking fade to black sequence break for a little bit of time passing while they're on the rock and nothing has changed. They're just on the fucking rock, you know?
I'm wondering, is there anything else there in the extended edition? Because I think there's a lot that happens in the book in those times, and we're literally cutting past it in the book.
I've seen the extended editions, I think, once several years ago, so there could be more there.
I'm almost wondering if they just couldn't figure out how to fade to it or hard cut to it.
Yeah, I don't know. But
it's a choice, that's for sure.
It's definitely a choice, and they linger on that fade to black for so long where you're just like, oh, that's it?
Hey,
okay.
You know who did that fade to black better?
What?
In game?
Yes.
When you see it starts blurring as you see Thor walking away, and then it fades to black, and then the 5 years later fades in.
Dude, what? Maybe
one of the few times I've heard an audience collectively gasp in a movie theater.
It's such a fucking gut punch of that's a fucking sequence break for you, dude. Like you're just like.
It's also the way it fades in, because it fades in like 5 years.
5 years. Later.
And no, there's a long pause before later. No, it's at the 5 years. At 5 fades in, then there's a long pause, and then years, and then later fades in right after it. So you don't know if it's going to be days, weeks, or months. When years faded in, the audience collectively gasped.
Because you're just like, fuck.
Well, it's
dude.
cementing the idea that they lost, right?
Yes.
So here, it's not serving a purpose, because
it's
in Avengers Endgame, they are making goddamn sure you understand that this is where Infinity War ended. It was right here, this moment. And then they lost. And then now we're starting Endgame, basically, is what they're telling the audience with that fade out and then the 5 years later fading in. Here, it's, you know what would be epic? If it just faded out. And then, no, not credits, Eagles. Step 1, fade out. Step 2, Eagles.
No.
Step 3,
Step 1.
profit.
Step 1, fade to black. Step 2, fade to white.
Step 3, profit.
Profit. I love that this has been a running gag for this. Like, so many fucking references in this fucking podcast. Jesus
What
Christ.
I appreciate.
But yeah, I just think it's
What I appreciate is that each one of our episodes has had its own running gag.
and we're just sharing the load, dude.
Share the load.
Okay.
Share the load.
Share the load.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Fuck you.
that's the only one.
It was already awkward every time I got that. But now, anytime I watch this and we get to share the load, it's going to be one of those things that just makes me burst out laughing.
Share the load, Ron.
I'm going to hear the way you say it over the way Sam says it every time.
Well, oh my God.
The load.
Share the load.
Stop saying it.
Step 1, share the load.
What's step 2?
You know, we're going to talk
We
about
don't
step
talk about step 2.
First rule about step 2 is we don't talk about step 2.
We just jump straight to step 3.
Oh God. Okay.
Step
Anything
1,
else
share.
you wanted?
Step 2, the load.
Does the harbor scene make you cry? Because it makes me cry almost every time.
It doesn't make me cry, no. It confuses me because I know what's coming up. And I still don't understand the end of this movie.
As far as what?
Like
where they're going?
Yeah, like, are they dead? Like, Gandalf's dead.
I thought they elaborated more on the Undying Lands in the books, or maybe like the 27 fucking Silmarillion chapters that are probably all about it. I don't know.
I don't know. That
I
may
don't
be
know
what
enough
it
about
is the Silmarillion. Yeah,
from what I've heard, one of my
if you Google it, people are like, "Well, if you read the book, they get on the boat and they leave," and I'm like, "Thanks, thanks, person."
Step one, get on the boat. Step 2, leave. Step 3, fade away. Oh God. Everyone be patient. Ron's gotta fade to black real quick. Just share the load, Ron. Just share the load, brother. You got this. You got this.
Oh, that I did not see coming. Well done. Way to bring it full circle.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay. So here's the thing. I haven't looked into I haven't fucking enhanced my way through the fucking 5,000 pages of Silmarillion lore, but
well, isn't it also just laid out like an encyclopedia? Like it's just a source book, more or less, right?
I think so. I don't know.
And that's not a knock against it, but it's like it's not something you would just sit down and read unless you were really
unless you're Stephen Colbert.
Right? Yeah, unless you're
like Stephen Colbert can probably fucking like just recite it start to finish, fucking memory. But for what I can tell, for one of my friends who is like a really big Lord of the Rings nerd, even more than me, is that it's not just an allegory for heaven, and it's actually a place, and blah 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 blah. I don't know. I'd have to research it more. I don't want to piss off Podcast Pete by going out on a limb, but I think I view it more as just a like symbol for heaven, essentially, because the people that are going are Gandalf, who's dead, like you said. Bilbo is, like any day now.
The elves have
gone.
It
makes sense. The elves have gone. It makes, and I think it's just like, and another thing too that kind of alludes to it being like a heaven type state to be in is the fact that when Arwen officially turns mortal, she says there's no ship that can take her.
Right.
But that also just like makes it more confusing because Frodo's mortal, like Bilbo's mortal. Why is it specifically that Arwen can't go?
They're not mortal,
which is probably also
they're not mortal in human terms, but it still doesn't make any sense
as far as like who goes and what.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
they're mortal, but I mean they still live to be. I mean, our 18 is 33 for a Hobbit. When Bilbo leaves, Frodo, that's his third. Frodo and Bilbo had the same birthday, so Frodo is 33 when the day that Bilbo leaves on his birthday, and then when Gandalf comes back for the ring and they set on the adventure, he's in his 50s. So, like they still live. They're not mortal in the sense of like a human. They still live much, much longer than a human. But like I don't. It still doesn't make sense.
Oh, okay. I got a little bit more detail on this. Okay. So the area included the continent of Aemon and the island of Tol Erisia.
Well done.
The ocean Belligear. Jesus
Nailed
Christ, J.R.R. Tolkien. The ocean Belligear separated the Undying Lands from the western shores of Middle-earth. Only immortals and ring-bearers were allowed to live in this realm.
So it's the
let's see.
It does Artorias' ring to pass. So Gandalf then.
Yeah, since Gandalf is still in Gandalf the White mode, I think Gandalf is like technically immortal.
His power's over 9,000.
Super Saiyan Gandalf. I just imagine it with the.
I love that it's a state. I love that it's a state. Like you're playing a video game and you hit the triangle button to go Gandalf the White mode.
Gandalf's evolving.
You're Gandalf evolved into Gandalf. You're Gandalf the Grey evolved into Gandalf the White. Would you like to nickname him?
Oh. Okay, let's see. So maybe there's actually not a lot of. I'm looking at the wiki, and there's actually not a lot of. Maybe it's the one fucking thing Tolkien made like ambiguous is the
one ambiguous thing to rule them all.
Yeah, no fucking kidding. But
no joke. If you go look up any form Kiora or anything, someone's like, okay, well, here's the thing. In the books, they get on board the boat. And they leave, and then it's period, and that's the whole explanation. And it's like, well, thank you, random stranger on the internet. That I saw the movie, I saw that part. I needed you to explain what it means.
So here's an interesting tidbit in the lore: Sam, Gimli, and Legolas also make the journey to the Undying Lands. I didn't know this, or if I did, I'd forgotten it. They also have they just get on the boat and go. And there's also no detail. Fade to black. No, fade to white. Remember, you gotta get it right, dude. It's heaven. Oh my god, this is great.
Step one, get on the boat.
I love how the third fucking result.
So Sam was sharing the load on the boat?
No. I don't need to see that Pornhub category, please. Please. I like how the third
exist, by the way.
I'm sure it exists somewhere. I like how the third okay. Wikipedia has a little bit more detail on Valinor, which is the Undying Lands.
This is more and more turning into like a Dark Souls sounding podcast.
Okay. Aemon was known somewhat misleadingly as the Undying Lands, but the land itself does not cause mortals to live forever. However, only immortal beings were generally allowed to reside there. Exceptions were made for the surviving bearers of the One Ring and Sam. Let's see.
Well, Sam was a ring bearer, though. That makes sense.
Yes,
not for very long. But
others have compared the account of the beautiful elvish part of the Undying Lands to the Middle English poem Pearl, stating that the closest literary equivalents of Tolkien's descriptions of these lands are the Imrama Celtic tales, such as those about St. Brendan from the early Middle Ages, Yeah, I think it's literally the one thing that doesn't get fully detailed in Silmarillion, which is interesting. Like, I like that he actually let one fucking thing be ambiguous and not have 500 pages of text to support it in the Silmarillion. So, I don't know. I really don't know.
I wonder if that means he had planned to expand on it further.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting.
So this podcast needs to fade to black.
No. We fade to white here.
That's true. That's true.
Because it kind of, Sam left too. The movie kind of sets it up to look like if we continue, it's with Sam.
True.
You know?
Yeah. I don't know.
It's interesting.
I really don't know.
But to close out, can we talk about one last detail that I really like?
Go for it.
Gollum carrying the ring into the fire.
I like that for a brief minute. He actually wins too.
Yes.
He doesn't have a very long, but he gets the fucking ring back.
Sick way, you feel happy for him. Like, you can't help it.
Right?
You can't help it. Part of you feels happy for him. Then you're like, wait, no, that's bad. Like,
because he's so happy, you can't help but be like sympathetic towards it. Because the way he's jumping around.
Yeah. He finally has it back. And it's been like 50 years, 70 years.
Yeah, 50, 60 years.
Since he's had the ring.
Because Bilbo finds it when he's in his 50s, I think.
And he's 11.
He's 111, yeah.
Not 111, but 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then, here's the thing, though. Remember I was telling you about the detail about how the ring hates Gollum because the ring wants to be found, and Gollum managed to keep it for himself and resist that part of it? The ring, just like being on the end of a chain, cannot do a goddamn thing to save itself when Gollum is falling because Gollum won't let go of it. Like, that was the whole thing. That was the whole point of Gollum in the cave. He will not let go of it. And, Gandalf says he feels like he has a role yet to play in all this. And Gollum's role is he will not let go of the ring anytime he has it. He just holds it. And he holds it all the way down into the lava. The ring cannot do a goddamn thing to save itself.
What's also interesting, too, is you could almost take the interpretation of it as Gollum's won, right?
Gollum wins Lord of the Rings.
Gollum won, and you can almost view it as the ring at this point, because we talked about like fate and just how much control the ring technically has, and how certain people are meant to have it at certain times. It's almost like the ring would rather be destroyed than be killed, held captured by Smeagol again. So like the ring is actually like almost like happier being destroyed than being captive in perpetuity again. You know, it's interesting.
Christina always hates the fact that Frodo turns. That's the part she doesn't like. And I was like, and I like, you like what you like and you don't what you don't. I wasn't like trying to convince her she's wrong or anything. But the conversation that we had about it, I was telling her, it's like, well, let's think about it this way. 13 months to the day, he's been wearing this goddamn thing around his neck. It's been whittling him down, but it's only been steering him. It doesn't need to take full control of him because he's already trying to get into Mordor. He's here's the thing. Here's the thing you got to think about. The bad guy who wants the ring is in Mordor. He is traveling to Mordor. So it doesn't need to exert a whole lot of influence on him. It needs Frodo to get there. So for 13 months to the day, not to the day, but for nearly 13 months, this thing has been around his neck, tugging at him, pulling at him to go towards Mordor. You see that around his neck. And when is the ring going to be exerting the most amount of influence that it could ever possibly exert? When he's dangling it off the cliff above the lava in Mount Doom.
Yeah.
Like, that is when it's going to be screaming out at its hardest to try to take him over. And it's also
close to Sauron. I bet it's more powerful just in his presence, too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that anything ever says that, but there's no reason why you shouldn't think that. It's his Horcrux, right? They're one and the same.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, Yeah, he's in close proximity. He's exhausted mentally, physically. Like, he's just been whittled down, and this thing is literally screaming out for its life. And, like, if it was ever going to turn Frodo, this is where it makes sense for Frodo to turn.
And like shit, they haven't even had water in like days.
Yeah.
It's rough. They had like 4 drops left in like Sam's canteen, and that's it.
Is it?
And they've been.
It's in the same movie, right? Both lines are in the same movie. When he's talking about rationing the llamas bread for the return trip home, and then later, I don't think there's going to be a return trip. Both of those lines are both in this movie, right?
Yeah, I think the return trip talk is at like the very beginning when they wake up in the like little pipe thing. Yeah. I think it's the same movie.
Are they both from Sam? Or is Frodo the second one later?
It's Sam is talking about the rationing
the llamas
and
bread.
then Frodo mentions about there might not be enough for the return trip home, and then Sam says, "I don't think there's going to be."
Yeah,
a return trip home.
So Sam says both lines. Oh God, that's so sad. When he starts crying about Rosie Cotton, that's the part that gets me. That's the part that I want to cry right there.
Yeah, Sean Astin and Elijah Wood fucking,
because Elijah Wood is talking about how he can finally like smell the Shire again. He can feel the grass on his feet. Like, for this entire time, he hasn't had any of that. And then the only thing Sam says is Rosie Cotton dancing, and she had ribbons in her hair. And then he just starts crying about like how if he was ever going to marry someone, it would have been her. And then he just breaks completely down. Dude, to see Sam break at all, because it's only happened one other time, and that is when Gollum managed to get into Frodo's head and turn him against Sam. All the rest of the time, Sam has been a fucking rock. So just anytime you see Sam cry, it gets me.
Yeah. And man, just like the heavy lifting that Sean Astin and Elijah Wood have to do to like have these almost like monologues, and it's almost funny as you think about it. Like they were probably like legitimately real life exhausted after having filmed these 3 fucking movies that were the fucking theatrical cuts are 3 hours. The fucking extended editions, when you just realize how much they were filming back to back to back for so long, they were probably like legitimately fucking exhausted. Like a lot of it is probably like just legit them.
I was gonna say, I wonder if there's a point where they even just stop noticing, because they filmed all these movies back to back, like you said, and the movies themselves are so long. Like, is there even a point where they just stop keeping track? Like, they just stop. They're like the ring bearers themselves. They don't understand the passage of time anymore.
Yeah. When you just think about just like the amount of hours, and for so much of their filming to not even be in the movie, like that's tough too. Like, you know, a lot, like even a lot of like the special effects work, a lot of those extended edition scenes, you know, like they got cut, you know, like they had like fully finished, or maybe not fully finished, but like 3/4 of the way finished special effects. Could you imagine fucking the time crunch for all of that work and it's not even in the fucking movie? That would be tough.
Yeah.
So you know, it is just like, it's interesting to think about just like how much of a grueling experience these movies had to have been, but man, they're just fantastic. And for so much of it to work when none of it should have worked is just amazing.
Dude, the costumes shouldn't even work, let alone the story and the acting and everything else. Like, how many fantasy things do you watch that it's like you're trying not to look at the costuming, because if you do, it's going to pull you out of the movie because it looks like something that the high school drama club would do.
Right.
And it's just, that's the one thing that immediately set me against World of Warcraft when I watched that godforsaken movie.
Never saw it.
And it's supposed to be the same people that did the Lord of the Rings costuming too, so I can only imagine that was Blizzard.
It had to have been.
Just being like, no, it doesn't look like the game.
Just
the shoulders need to be bigger. I said bigger shoulders. Yeah, because
wait. So here's the question. Wait, which one's your favorite? Which movie's your favorite?
It's got to be Two Towers, I think. Now,
I have a really hard time.
I want to make it completely clear that I've got 3 children. One is named Fellowship, one is named Tower, and one is called King. And picking between them is hard. But
it's between Two Towers and Return of the King, and they're so fucking close to me. I go back and forth all the time. I think my favorite is probably Two Towers, but Return of the King has so many scenes where you just want to get out of your chair and scream "fuck yeah" at the TV.
You and I have had this conversation before.
Oh man.
And when we did, you were saying this exact same thing, except Return of the King was your favorite.
I go back and forth all the it's like every time I revisit them.
I go back and anyone that has listened this far to this podcast completely understands.
It's so hard. Like I think it's Two Towers, but then like I can make it like they're so close.
Now, like I said, it's like picking between your children. They're all three so good. We are not in any way casting shade on Fellowship because you don't have these two movies without Fellowship. Number one,
not at all, because it's like we talked about. You know, like it establishes like the tone of everything, does so much of the heavy lifting just to make
it shares the load.
I adore that movie too. God damn it.
No, here's the thing: the Fellowship of the Ring is the setup. Like that is the thing. I don't want to say that is unfortunate for it because the setup is still so good and it does that job so well. But the reason why you never hear anyone pick it as their favorite is because it is setting up what Two Towers and Return of the King are setting out to do. It is the beginning of everything. It is the genesis. So
it's like the Iron Man of the MC. Like you know, nothing happens without that movie.
Exactly. So it's got with how much background there. I mean, the first 10 minutes is just narration.
And it's amazing.
And it's incredible, edge of your seat stuff. You know, so it's no shade at all that neither of us picked Fellowship, and you very rarely will hear anyone pick Fellowship, I suspect. But all three of these movies, for a trilogy to be at the same level from movie to movie to movie.
It's just insane because like what we're talking about is how Fellowship is like Two Towers and Return of the King would be like a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
And then Fellowship makes the mistake of being like a 9.3 out of 10. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's I almost just tried to shoehorn another Dark Souls reference in, but it doesn't do the justice. It doesn't do it any justice. It's actually an unfair remark just to do it, because I was gonna say it's like Dark Souls 2 where places wish that it was their worst movie or like their worst game, but it's not. That's unfair to Fellowship because, like you said, it's a 9.2, and that's the mistake that it made. It wasn't a 9.3, that's even then it's a 9.2 due to no fault of its own. It's just it is what it has to be for Two Towers and Return of the King to be the payoff. For me, Fellowship does a lot of, here's this character, he's from the Shire. This one's also from the Shire. Here's this character, his name is Strider and he's a ranger. Oh, he's also the fucking king. You know, and it's just, here's everybody and everything thrown at you. But in Two Towers, that is established, but we're also getting new characters like Treebeard, and we're getting that whole story, and we have Isengard, the Battle of Isengard. We have Helm's Deep. We have Theoden and the Rohanians, and I'm already a fucking glut for anything Viking related or anything Norse related. I just think it's got to be Two Towers for me, and that's, like I said, it's not a hands down because Return of the King is also so good. But I've always gravitated like 1A, 1B towards for me. Two Towers more.
They're like 1A, 1B for me, and historically, I probably would have said Return of the King, but really, like, just really digging in for these revisits to talk about them on the podcast.
That might have even been on our old podcast. So I might even have that on tape.
And it could still, because I typically in the past would have said Return of the King was my favorite part. You know what could have been influencing that too was just the fact that I saw it in the theater opening weekend. That can influence.
Well, but that's also part of it. You know?
Yeah, you're just your experience with it. But revisiting them as movies, just after the fact over time,
movies.
Instead
these
of just,
are movies, says Podcast Pete.
They're not movies. They're film, Ron.
They're cinema.
They're cinema.
Cinema. Yeah.
They just viewing them as a film instead of as like the experience of getting to watch it opening weekend and how amazing that was, because this was like Return of the King was the only one I saw in the theater. I didn't actually see the first two in the theater. My family wasn't watching them as they came out. We saw them on like DVD, I think, after the first two had already come out, where we got to see the third one actually at the theater, but we watched the first two on DVD, and I think that may be part of it. But just viewing them as objectively as possible, like I think it might be Two Towers, but it's like picking like between your favorite fucking kids, like you said, and they're like 1A and 1B, and I like them in different ways.
Yeah. And that makes sense because they all set out to do different things.
Yeah.
So, it's not an easy decision, especially when you also break it down that they are one story as well. You're basically picking your favorite chapters out of a story when you pick your favorite movie.
True. Yeah.
So,
it makes sense.
Yeah. It's not like picking between the Witcher books or something, which are their own individual stories that also play into a big macro plot. These are literally the same story continuing from book to book to book. So that makes it almost
it's almost a moot point too, because in its entirety, it is my favorite trilogy of all time. So it's just the fucking just incredible filmmaking, incredible attention to detail, incredible casting choices. Just every fucking character is perfectly cast. Everyone gave a shit
for most of their careers because
right.
They're forever Sam, forever Frodo, forever Aragorn. They just could not. Merry and Pippin just disappeared. You see them occasionally in something, but
yeah. But I mean,
occasionally you see them in rap videos.
If you have to be just a part of one thing,
man, what a hell of a ride.
I think you would take that. I really think I would. Just to be able to say you were a part of. Just to be able to say you were a part of it. But yeah, I think, man, it's almost sad to say, but I think that's gonna be a wrap for our Lord of the Rings coverage, man.
I still say a year from now we should put out a commentary for each one.
I think commentaries for the extended editions, just to say fuck it and just take time to watch
that would
it.
also
just
set
say
it
why
apart.
not? Yeah, because we can talk about like the differences. Talk about what we could have kept in potentially, what could have been, like I talked about with the Saruman stuff, but I think you had a little bit of a kind of admin thing you want to talk about for our next episode, right?
Yes. As you stated earlier, this is our last podcast of the year. And once again, Merry Christmas, everyone who is probably listening to this on the road home. Safe travels if you are.
And thanks for listening. Like, if you've listened to any part of our podcast for the last year plus, thank you.
The last 41 episodes. Thank you so much. But this is the last one for the year. We are coming back on January 22nd, so about a month off. Part of that is just due to a little bit of a hiatus and the way that the way that our scheduling works, since we are every other week normally anyway. But I am having a surgery on the 28th, minor outpatient hernia surgery, and hernias. So in getting that fixed, I'll be down and out. And while it is true.
So wait, are you saying your hernias were sharing the load?
Yes, they are. And I'm fucking tired of it. But yeah, no, while it is true that in recovery mode, I'll have literally nothing better to do than play video games and watch movies.
Oh, you poor bastard.
I know. I think I would. I think the stairs are going to suck. And that is where we record.
I can see that.
That's where I record, is upstairs.
You're saying you're just going to stay downstairs for like a month?
Pretty much. Well, basically the first 2 weeks, I'm not supposed to do a goddamn thing. Like I can drive and stuff, but like my dog has a splint on his leg right now that has to be removed in that same time period after my surgery. So Christina's going to have to throw him in the car, and the vet is going to have to come out and remove him from my car. I've already talked to them about it.
Nice.
Because I'm not even, he's 22 pounds, which is fat for a Sheltie, by the way, but he's 22 pounds, and that is
damn fat shaming. Cut the Shep is like, what the fuck, man?
He used to be 33. I got him down to that. He's supposed to be 16, so yeah, that happened. But no, I'm not supposed to do any lifting whatsoever because of the nature of like how they repair a hernia. Because you can actually risk shifting the mesh that they put in, and then you have to have the surgery again. Which I do not want to do.
Never cross the streams.
Never shift the mesh.
Step
1, insert mesh. Step 2, lays about.
Don't shift
Step
it.
3, fade to white. Yeah. So, anyways, that's what's happening. So I'm gonna take that time off and recover and heal up. But I'll tell you one thing I will definitely be watching while we're gone, Jeff.
Oh shit, yeah, because next movie selection is Ron's.
Mm-hmm. One thing, I've made my decision as we've been recording. I told Jeff before we started that I was torn between 2 movies, and I think I've decided.
Okay, let's hear it.
I think our next film should be The Mitchells versus the Machines.
Excellent choice.
I was originally going to go Nice Guys to pair with Bad Times at the El Royale.
With Lord of the Rings, as you do.
Yes. Yoo-hoo? But I think I'm going to save that maybe for my following pick. I think thinking about Christmas time and family time, and I'm going to have a lot of fucking family time coming up. I'll probably just be on the couch watching this one with my kids. My kids have seen it a couple times now. And
yeah, I'm excited to revisit it. I've seen it one time with you guys and loved it a lot. So I'm excited.
I'm excited. I could do an
where...
entire podcast just on the art style, because I'm also returning to my roots here a little bit, because I tend between us to be the one that favors animation more. And appreciate. I don't want to say that you. I don't mean to say that you don't appreciate animation, but I tend to appreciate it a little bit more in the granular level, I think, than you do. And the art style and the animation style of this movie, like I said, I could just do an entire podcast on just that.
It's made me want to seek out that show the creators made. Was it Gravity Falls?
Yeah.
Just to see how it is. Because it's just that good. And I think it could be one of those movies where it's like, I really, really fucking liked it the first time. And then when you watch it a second time and you just like pick up on more little details in animation and everything like that, you just like fall more in love with it, which it sounds like what you do since you've been... How many times have you seen it?
God knows. Here's the thing about being a father. You tend to rewatch shit over and over and over. And I have a process for that, actually, because the first couple of times I watch it focusing where the camera is telling me to focus, and where everyone is intending me to look and hear what everyone's intending me to hear. But there's a point after about 2 times of watching something, I start looking at the background or anywhere that they're not shifting my focus to by what is centered in frame or whatnot, or sometimes literally what's in focus, because sometimes they do that thing where the character in the background is speaking and in focus, and then the focus switches to the one in the foreground. And I tend to look the opposite of those or whatever and just get more detail. And there's nowhere more fun to do that for me than an animation. So there's a lot to talk about. We're eventually going to cover Frozen and Moana and all those, because those are all on my list to bring up. And because Frozen stars 2 main characters, right, Anna and Elsa, there's always something hilarious or whatever in the background, especially in Frozen 2, when it's those 2 characters on screen a lot at the same time. There's so many moments with facial expressions or whatever that is in the background that the focus of whatever's in frame is literally drawing your attention away from. But when you watch it on repeat viewings, like, it's just hilarious to find. So... yeah, and animation has always been one of my absolute favorite things. That's probably what gravitates me towards video games as well. But
I can see that.
But yeah, Mitchells vs. the Machines has a lot going on, and it's fucking phenomenal. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the messaging in the story, by the way, but we'll cover it. Yeah, the family stuff I agree with,
and it's
a lot of the other stuff.
And it's on Netflix, right?
Yes.
I think it's a Netflix original.
It is a Netflix original. It was originally supposed to come out in theaters, and then the pandemic happened, and they pulled the ripcord on that real fucking fast. And
and then
thanks for calling Netflix.
You're greenlit. Exactly. we need fucking matching shirts for that, by the way.
One just says thanks for calling Netflix, and the other one says you're greenlit.
This is a fucking genius idea. This is a genius idea. We're gonna be fucking rich. Not really. But hypothetically.
Step 1. Thank you for calling Netflix. Step 2, you're greenlit. Step 3, fucking end the podcast and trademark it.
Step 4, not profit.
Step 4, die in poverty.
Step 5. Get sued by Netflix.
That's the real step 3 is get sued by Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
And on that note, thanks for listening. Have a good night.